Hello, I'm Patrick Dooley, and today we're going to be looking at some warm-ups, a conditioning program for strength and endurance, and then also looking at doing some flexibility. Um, I'm here with Mandy. Mandy is a golfer, so we're going to be looking at what will it take to focus on the muscles and focus on some of the body parts that are part of the golf swing to up her game, and also we want to prevent injuries. Some of the injuries that I'm concerned about are the back, the knees, the hip, ankles, the elbows, wrists, and also the neck. Um, I will not be talking so much to the camera. The facility that we're in is pretty loud. There's a lot of loud music out there where we will be, and so I figured that in here we'll go ahead and do the warm-ups, and I'm just going to dub my voice into the actual editing portion while I'm talking about and demonstrating all of the different warm-ups, some of the exercises we'll be doing, and then also the flexibility portion. So, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
So we want to warm up the body. Injuries occur due to lack of conditioning and poor core stability. So outside of the dynamic warm-ups, what we're doing here is a plank. And I want her to have a straight back, ensure that she's not too high or too low. And if she did have any low back pains, that she could drop down her knees and continue with her planks until she builds that strength to then do the planks normal. And then moving into the bird dogs, notice how she's leaning forward. That could probably become problematic later. So I have her back up a little bit and get into more of a proper position. And I'm utilizing a long foam roller for the bird dogs. When I'm not holding it, it's balancing on her back. And then I instruct her to lift each leg one at a time and then lift each arm one at a time, so that she could maintain proper position while conducting this exercise. So when she completes her calibrations, per se, of how to get this the proper technique down, I'll go ahead and have her do the leg and the arm at the same time. But I want her to hold it up top for about 5 seconds. So when she gets a good fit in for this, and the foam roller, that's just what I used for this. I didn't have a pole or anything, but it's a straight object to just align the head, upper back, and lower back. I will remove it and instruct her to go ahead and continue and hold the bird dog for 5 seconds, and then switch to the opposite side and repeat. And we'll do that for probably 15 repetitions before moving on. She's working on her golf swing, so being in shape prevents injuries and helps with overall fitness, of course. So with golfers, the force that the body initiates during the golf swing, by the time that that golf club hits the ball, there's a lot of moving parts, and so having a strong core is very important. We're going to go ahead and demonstrate torsional buttress. And what I'm explaining to Mandy here is that I don't want her to be too low, and I also don't want her to be too high. And what she's going to end up doing is needing to lift one arm at a time, touch her shoulders. Now, we're focusing here on specific exercises that would more or less help with core strength, because her being a golfer and wanting to work on her core strength to, one, prevent injuries, but two, just to play golf better. I have her doing various exercises. So some of the dynamic warm-ups won't be shown in this video. Most of these are specifically for that golf swing. And here we're doing stir the pot. You're basically in a plank, but utilizing a medicine ball under you. And what I'm instructing her is that you don't want to go into big circles. Keep the circles kind of small until you're comfortable, and as you advance and get better at this, you can make the circles bigger and bigger to your comfort. Important aspect to working with a client is you always want to make sure that they're challenged but not going too much out of their comfort zone because we don't want to injure somebody when we're training them. So what I ended up doing is switching her medicine ball and giving her a chance to feel the difference. Very important. Everyone's going to be different. We want to utilize the equipment we have properly in accordance with body types and different, person's strength for what we're doing. I have her doing it from the side in this shot so that you can see what we were doing before. And then we did a quick review on foam rolling, and it's very important to maybe utilize this into your routine. It helps. And here, I instructed her that when she finds a sore spot, to sit on that spot and give it a little bit, let it kind of work itself out. Don't just continue to roll over it and roll over it. So she found one of them spots. Now we're working into more of the strength and conditioning exercises. We're going to start with the kettlebell swing. So here, instructed her not to use so much of her upper body. It's going to be coming from her lower body. And so while she's doing this exercise, I'm asking her to maintain, one, her breathing. That's very important. And two, that her abdominals are activated and she has those tight. And when she comes up to the top, to have a short pause when she comes to the peak of that swing up top. That short pause is going to also allow her to activate those glutes. Squeezing those glutes and the abdominals together helps with the kettlebell swing. She will be pretty much in good form this whole time, and not that she had her knees past her toes, but it's always good to remind clients that you don't want your knees to pass those toes, because the last thing we want is somebody to get injured while trying to prevent injuries. It's just proper technique. Moving into squats, we're working on the squat rack, making sure that it's the proper height. Not only the proper height, but that, if the bar is going to have weights on it, some people don't like that weight on their neck. So here we put on a foam roller, comfort for the neck, and then also she had a belt, which is very important. If you have that, go and use it. Anything you can do to prevent further injuries on anything while building your strength and endurance is a great idea. We discussed the different feet positions, the different types of squats, but for today, we are going to focus on just a standard squat where we're going to have a comfortable shoulder width length feet position. And when you pick up the bar, you want to make sure that you're completely under the bar and you take a step back. You ensure that you do your systems and checks, that you got proper technique before you actually go into the squat. Get your feet in place. And I also instructed that staring up to the ceiling helps keep that proper technique down. If not, just don't look down. Either look at yourself in the mirror or look up to the ceiling. It helps with keeping that proper position. So here we are adding some weights. So she did a few fit-ins, which is always important. It's also, it helps with warming up the body before the actual workout. So now that we have the weights on, she's going to utilize proper weight distribution by getting under the weight before taking it off the rack. And then she's going to make sure she's in place before actually starting her squats. Her knees are not passing her toes, so she's in good form. And what we see here is that her repetitions are going to be relaxed because we're not going for weight. We're going for proper technique for these. Another exercise that's good for golfers, believe it or not, is pull-ups. And then there's also lat pull-downs, which we will follow after the pull-ups. But here, I have no weight. It's just her body weight. This machine allows you to kind of counterbalance your own body weight to work on pull-ups. And so what we want to do is see how many she can get just on her own. And as you can see there, she did one full pull-up, but not a second. So we know where she's at. So I'm going to go ahead and put some weight. This is going to counterbalance her personal weight. So it's going to be a lot easier for her because it's almost subtracting her own weight, her own body weight. So now you can see that she's doing it way too easy. which is not bad, but also it's not challenging my client. So Mandy wants to be challenged. It's too easy, so I ask her to stop. When she stops, I move in, and I kind of have an idea of where I should put it, but I want to kind of overcompensate a little bit. I went a little less. I put less weight than I know that she needed. That's just to better eyeball and gauge where she should be at, and also have her kind of learn a little bit on like why this machine does what it does. So that was a great lesson for her because she was really wondering. So instead of me demonstrating it, I had her experience it herself. So now I got the weight gauged to about where I think that she could start, and she could, you know, more or less move it as she starts to adapt the strength for doing the pull-ups. And the goal is to eventually get to a point where you can do pull-ups comfortably without any of that weight needed. And then also another one is the rows. Simple. Make sure the bar is solid. It's not moving to do these rows. And then again, here we are with the lat pull downs. I want you to notice that she's not going to be swinging her body. She's got just enough weight on there that she's going to get a good workout, but also be comfortable enough where she doesn't need to like pull back her body. She doesn't need to do any of that movement. It's focusing on the lat pull down where she's engaging those muscles perfectly with this form. So once we finished that, we looked into maybe some more rotational functional exercises. So I just had her kind of do a few reps with the bar in the rack stand because we were lucky enough to have that as one of the options. And then we moved into a high intensity interval training program, which she does a lot of walking on her own, doesn't really run or jog much. So because golfing already has a lot of walking in itself, and there's a lot of knee concerns in regards to injury, I figured a bike would be a great option because you don't really have any impact. So we demonstrated how to properly size the bike, and now we are going to do some intervals. So I had her go ahead and do a 20-second sprint, and we're going to go ahead and slow that down to a nice cruise for about 10 seconds and then repeat into that 20 seconds. And we do that about 5 or 6 times. And then, discuss and see how she felt about that. And we continue to learn that breathing is very important. So stretching decreases muscle strength. And so if you're stretching before you get into an event, or in this case, before a game of golf, you could be losing a lot of your range of motion and strength when it comes to the golf swing, and that's not what we want. So what we're going to do is start developing a pattern or habits of stretching after a game of golf, and in this case, stretching after we do a workout. This will allow us to start building more functional flexibility and reaching more of a peak for that range of motion for her golf swing. So today we're concluding right now. So we went over the warm-ups. We went over some exercises to do for strength and conditioning, and we kind of discussed a little bit about flexibility and why it's so important. So some of the reasons that we want to ensure that we do proper techniques and not so much the weight training is the functions it takes to do a golf swing and implement that into like the workout program, which is like functional exercises. So this would help strengthen the muscles. The core is a very important aspect of a golf swing since there's a lot of rotation in the golf swing, and we hit on that a lot today. Also, we wanted to not only strengthen them because it's just better to have more strength, but also to prevent injuries. Some of the ones we mentioned earlier, like the lower back, the hips, the knees, the neck, elbows, wrists, and ankles. So what we do now is say good game, good job, and then we address the goals and assess more as we continue to work together. So
thank you.
Thanks. Is there anything else you want to say to this?
You've been a great help. I think that my golf game should definitely prevail, and hopefully I'll be pro someday.